Okay, should be good.
Great. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to the June Food Policy Council Leadership Team meeting. Thanks for being here this morning. As I mentioned, I know a few people let me know they were not going to be able to join, and a few other people I know are in transit. Carla and Anne and Nicole, I think I saw you in your car too. So I guess that makes sense. Late June, people are traveling, have vacations, other plans, but. Yeah, thanks everyone for being here this morning. Um, let's see. Let's do a quick round of intros, checking in, saying hey, seeing how folks are doing this morning. Uh, Vernon, you are next on my screen, so if you want to just tell us how you're doing.
Doing very well. Getting excited. Well, I am very excited that our church is celebrating our 11th year anniversary, and there are two things happening. One is a gospel concert tomorrow. A group is coming out of New York that will be singing, and then we continue the celebration on Sunday morning. So uh, it's a busy time. And then we have the Mon mass distribution. We are hosting that today at Bethel at 1 o'clock. So I'll be jumping off this call, heading to the church to be there for that.
Sounds like a very busy weekend for you,
Yeah, absolutely.
but full of good things. So I hope it all
Yeah.
you're able to enjoy it all. Um, all right, Christy, do you want to go next?
Yep, I'll go next. Um, all is well. We're really busy here at the Office on Aging. Um, I know they started Carla might talk about this, um, the food vouchers for the farmers markets have started. So we've been giving out that information on where people can get their food vouchers. Um, and yeah, that's about it.
Sounds good. All right. Juliana.
Good morning, everyone. Things are good. I don't know if you guys are into the World Cup, but when Brazil plays, I stop everything and just watch the game. So it's been super fun watching the games. Last game that was on Wednesday, I went to the Lemon Fest Fan Fest that it's very fun. Where they did a really good job. So yeah, I saw the United States already in the second round. Good job, guys. Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening and just work.
Nice. Did you get to go? Brazil played here in Philly, right? Did you get to go
Yeah, they
to that
played.
game?
Yeah, they played. I think it was like the 19th that they played here. But no, we watched it at home. Like we had people over. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been enjoying watching it too. It's been fun.
Mhm.
All right, Nicole.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, can you hear fine?
Okay, perfect. I'm in my car. I also am Team Brazil and have been watching, which has been super exciting. But at Norristown Area School District, we've been launching our summer program. So we are serving 13 summer food service sites in partnership with the Montgomery County IU for different camps and summer education opportunities for students. We also just locked down all the details. Thank you to Carla and the Share Food Program for our meal distribution for our boxes of meals that we're going to do every Thursday, July 6th through August. I think it's August 7th. It's every Thursday through the July and the first week of August. So I am feeling incredibly grateful and like things are calming down a bit because we've been in the crazy planning stages now for weeks and now everything's starting, which is wonderful. So
Great. Sounds good. Well, that's exciting to see, as you mentioned, programs you've been planning for weeks, like coming together and starting to actually happen. So that's great. Since you mentioned Carla, Carla, do you want to go next?
Yep. Can everyone hear me?
We can, yeah.
Yes.
Great. So things are really, really busy right now. Our voucher program, the SFMMP program, which are those farmers market voucher program, we are in full swing. So far we've distributed over 650 vouchers to seniors, and we have just started June 1st. So the program is in high demand right now. We have gotten a lot of phone calls recently, a very large uptick in phone calls that I'm trying to make sure that we're keeping data for, of seniors saying that they lost their SNAP benefits. So we're trying to see what's happening with that, why the big uptick these past 2 weeks. But that program's keeping us busy. And the other thing keeping me busy is we are currently in the beginning stages of our audit. It started today. So we have the state, the USDA, and the PDA all coming through all four of our locations at Share for our audit and our end of the year inventory counts. So we are just really, really busy. And I'm sneaking out of town in the midst of it all.
Nice, good for you. Glad you're able to get away a little bit despite the audits and everything else happening. Thanks for mentioning the uptick in calls you've been getting there. That's interesting. Maybe we can follow up after the meeting to chat about that a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, and then Anne, I know you're also on the road, but if you wanna if you're able to come off mute.
Okay. I, like Carla, I'm sneaking away for the weekend, which is super exciting, but I still have a long drive to make today. I was thrilled to be at the general membership meeting yesterday to check out the Deaver Wellness Farm at Lincoln Hospital, but have been keeping busy working on all the other amazing stuff that the Planning Commission does on mostly on the county's draft comprehensive plan. A labor of love for sure. So thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anne. All right, I'm going to go ahead and walk us through our agenda. I know, again, a bunch of folks are in the car, but I'll share my screen anyway. So we have public comment, approval of May meetings, the leadership team member presentation, update on our working groups. We'll talk a little bit about the general membership meeting yesterday, as Anne mentioned, and then a few other updates. And we'll see. We talked last time about adding in kind of space on the agenda just for open discussion for people to bring up either challenges that they have or questions they want to discuss or anything like that. Our agenda is pretty full today, so not sure if we'll get to that open discussion, but we'll keep it on there and see if we do. So yeah, that's what we have for this morning. I guess our first item is public comment. Tim, thanks for joining us again this morning. Is there anything in particular you wanted to share?
Oh, I'm here. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Awesome. I mean, I don't really have anything to share. I've been plugging away at the Delaware Food Bank on my off time. I grew my first strawberry, so I'm very excited about that. I helped prep the garden area for a farm to table event that brought in 250 people, which was pretty cool. So Feeding America CEO was there. I was not a part of the event, but I helped prep the grounds for it. So yeah, that's all I've been up to. And hoping for a nice celebration for America 250. I look forward to next week's event with the county.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds like you've been busy in all your volunteering with a lot of great stuff. And thanks for mentioning the county's 250 celebration next week. Yeah, I think
Awesome.
that will be good.
Yeah. Have a good day. I'll be here.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Well, thanks, Tim. Let's go to then approval of our May meeting minutes. Again, we'll pull them up on my screen here. So last time, we had our leadership team member presentation from Davey, giving an overview of the sustainability office, talked about that for a bit, had our working group updates, and yeah, some follow-up from our leadership team retreat on strategic plan. And again, talked about the role of the leadership team. That's where that idea of this kind of like space for open discussion came up. And then had our wrap up. So any questions or comments on the May meeting minutes?
None for me.
All right, hearing none, we'll do a vote. So all those in favor of approving the May meeting minutes can raise your hand. All right, got one emoji hand there. Nicole or
hand's raised.
Carla. There we go. Okay, great. Okay. So minutes are approved unanimously, and then that will bring us to leadership team member presentation. So again, this was at our retreat, talked about kind of just adjustments, tweaks we can make to how we work as a leadership team. This is something we had started at the very beginning, and then kind of dropped off after a little while. But just taking 5 minutes for members of the leadership team to be able to share a little bit about their work, what they do, challenges they see, opportunities they see, just to build more of that shared understanding throughout the leadership team of, the work that we all do. So yeah, I've talked to Nicole. Again, I know you're in the car, but if you're still able to give us a quick overview of your work and your role as the food service director in the Norristown Area School District, that would be great.
Yeah, I did just pull over, so I'm good. Okay, so I am the food service director at Norristown Area School District. I run the breakfast and lunch program, and we're going to start the after school snack program this coming school year. And we started the summer food service program this year. So we provide meals during school. Norristown Area School District participates in the community eligibility provision, so all the meals are free of charge to all of the students. We do have a 69% free and reduced eligibility percentage in our district, which is pretty high. So we're 100% CEP, so that means we're getting the max amount of federal funding for our meal reimbursement. We also participate in the fresh fruit and vegetable program. So all of our students 3 days a week throughout the school year get snacks of fresh fruits and vegetables. We do partner with a company called Smart Partner out of Lancaster, and they do provide local produce when possible. But they do a wide variety of sampling to expose students to fresh fruits and vegetables. So that's going on as well. We are the team, we have about 90 employees that run all of the kitchens, an excellent group of individuals, a lot of long-term experience, just like career, quote unquote, and lovingly fed lunch ladies. And then we have some chefs on staff and obviously a lot of community members and that for in the Norristown area. Let me see, what else can I say? We do close to 10,000 meals a day between the breakfast and lunch program. So huge quantities of meals that are produced in all of our kitchens every day. We are continuing to work to ensure that, we're providing some scratch cooked meals. We've expanded our fresh fruits and vegetables options in the cafeteria this past year. And we continue, since we've gotten out of the COVID employment slump where it was we were incredibly short staffed for a very long time, and now we are better staffed, which means we're able to do more for our students. So we're continuing to grow our program with the scratch recipes and local produce and things like that. Like we sourced local lettuce, and I think I pulled every strawberry that was grown in Lancaster County out of Lancaster County to serve them a day in Norristown. So those are some of the things that we have going on. Outside of that, I also sit on the National Public Policy and as the National School Nutrition Association's Public Policy and Legislative Chair. So very active in what's going on at the federal level with legislation and regulations for school meals that could be coming up. Yesterday, I had a call with the Health and Human Services Department to work as an operator to help work with them on different ways to fund, that they could provide funding for expanding compliance with the dietary guidelines. So I think that's it in a nutshell. Lots going on all the time, but very happy to do the work that I do and feed kids. So if there's any questions, or Sam, if you need me to touch on anything else, just let me know.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, Nicole. Really helpful to get a sense of, like as you were saying, kind of the number of meals that you serve and the workforce that's needed to put together those meals, ways in which you're working to source locally, and also participating in other conversations, as you were mentioning, about federal policy changes and things along those lines. So thanks very much for that overview. Does anyone have any questions for Nicole? I'm going to go ahead and ask one, maybe two questions. I'm curious, in terms of the federal funding policy changes, I guess the question is just like, I'm trying to ask this in a way that isn't so broad, but what changes have happened and what has the impact of them been? I think the school food space is one that I haven't been as keyed into in terms of those kind of changes, and then what are other things that you're either potentially changes that you think could be good, that you're excited about coming down, or ones that you're worried about.
Mm-hmm. So I would say the biggest impact we've had so far, that we've seen so far, was when the USDA canceled the local food for schools funding. So that was pretty significant slash for local foods. However, like you said, there's a lot that we're anticipating coming down the pike. So one of the things related to the SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts, many CEP school districts have re-upped this year their eligibility for CEP, which will reestablish their timeline for the next 5 years. Because we anticipate the numbers of students who are eligible for SNAP to decrease, and we will see the impacts of that after the middle of October. So that's one thing that we are expecting to come down the pike. We have no idea what that's going to look like, or what the cuts are, or the number of kids that would roll off, but we do anticipate it. So there's a grace period in school nutrition. So the first 30 operating days of school, if students were eligible and free the prior year, they are eligible and free for the first 30 days of school. So mid-October is when we see a shift in the number of free or reduced eligible students. Now, any student that is, or anybody who's re-upped their CEP status or timeline, they won't be affected by that, but we'll be able to see what the numbers are. So we're anticipating that. The other thing we're working on at the federal level is that the school meal nutrition pattern follows the dietary guidelines. And what we're seeing with the new dietary guidelines is an added emphasis on protein, decreases in ultra processed foods and things like that, without really clear definitions of what ultra processed foods are. But also, you know, there's an added expense. Protein is a more expensive meal component. So increasing protein will add costs. So we're advocating for an increase in reimbursement, decreasing in pre-made, pre-cooked food items will also increase labor. There could be more expense associated with that. So, you know, I think in general, we see that the reimbursement rate is not really keeping up with inflation and the cost of equipment and things like that. So we're always continually advocating to increase funding. And it's just more critical now as we're making sure that in order to align with the dietary guidelines, we're adequately funded so we can do it really well and effectively.
Right, right. Got it. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I hadn't, it's interesting hearing about, thinking about kind of more the downstream effects from those changes, as you mentioned that, you know, proteins are more expensive and would require different training or, you know, work for a kitchen staff. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how, you know, as those come down, if there's other supports or things that can be provided.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have questions or yeah, thoughts for Nicole? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate you sharing that overview.
Thank you.
And yeah, then we'll keep moving on in our agenda to our working group updates. So first up, we have network development. Our working group, you know, we started our Lunch and Learn series. I think that was back in April. We had our first discussion there, which went well. Our next one is scheduled now for July 10th, so coming up in just 2 weeks. It's going to focus on food systems and climate change. So, you know, what are the impacts that we're seeing on local farms in our area, things like that, and how are we kind of responding to the changing climate? We have about 10 people registered so far. So yeah, feel free to share the registration information about that event so we can try and hopefully get a few more folks signed up. We also, in our last working group meeting, as a follow-up from the first Lunch and Learn, which again was around food waste, we had talked about doing a workshop around kind of home composting, like a home composting 101. And then in our last working group meeting, we kind of talked about that a little bit, and we're thinking about expanding that to being more of a series about reducing food waste in general. So a workshop on composting, kind of ways you can reduce food waste in your kitchen, maybe kind of an informational webinar type of event, just kind of talking about food waste as an issue in general. And yeah, there's an intern from the county commissioner's office who is really interested in these issues. So working with him to help map out what that series of workshops will look like. That's something we're not really going to get started with for a couple more weeks, but yeah, later in July we'll be trying to plan out some of those workshops. So I think that's all from network development. Um, anyone have questions there? All right, so then if not, we can move on to food security. So in our food security working group, again, we are looking at September as a launch date for our educational campaign, which is coming up pretty soon. But I feel like we're getting in good shape for that. We were talking in our last meeting about doing some kind of community meal type event to kick off the campaign. So yeah, I've been working through that a little bit, thinking through the logistics and ensuring that we can use the our Food Policy Council funding to purchase food. There are some restraints around that, but I think that it will be okay for this event. Just kind of, have to think about how we frame it a little bit. And yeah, this is on the agenda for later, but there are two interns who are now working with me and the Food Policy Council over the summer, and that's kind of one of their primary projects is going to be helping to lead the event planning for our kickoff event for the food security educational campaign. Yeah, I think that's the main update. Yeah, as on that project. Any questions there? Okay. So then we have farmer development. We have our mentorship program. Everything is kind of queued up and ready to go. We've got the program structure and everything set up. We've got our promotional materials, all of that. But I ran into a bit of a roadblock with the stipends for the mentors. Again, so as we're aware, the Food Policy Council budget is from ARPA, all needs to be spent by the end of this year. I thought that as long as it was out of the county's accounts, then it was fine. That count as kind of being spent. But I learned recently that that all of the money actually needs to be spent by the end of the year, not for any services that will take place in 2027. So our mentorship program, we had set up that it would start now or in the fall, towards the end of this year, but then carry on through all of 2027. So I need to figure out if there's a kind of creative solution to being able to still provide stipends for mentors, or if if we need to kind of adjust our program. So that one's on pause a little bit while I'm working through that. But as I mentioned, everything else for the program is ready to go. Just need to kind of try and resolve that issue. So yeah, that's the update on the mentorship program. Again, any questions there? Not seeing any. Okay. And then as far as the policy working group, that's our last one. I'm not sure if there are any updates. Nicole, do you remember? I don't remember when, if you and Bree had met or the last time that we met, if that was before our last meeting.
We have been meeting. I know we don't really have any updates. I know we were going to meet again early July and hopefully have some information for our July meeting.
Great. Sounds good. Well, we'll plan for an update at our next leadership team meeting then. All right, so I think those are all of our working group updates. So then I think we can move to the next item on our agenda, which is general membership meeting reflection. So I can give a quick summary of the general membership meeting, which was yesterday. As Anne mentioned, it was at the Deaver Wellness Farm at the Lincoln Hospital. And yeah, we had about 15 people attend, so smaller than usual, but I think, two things. One, I think that's somewhat to be expected for, for the time of year. And also, I did get like a number of cancellations yesterday morning. So I think there were, people who were sick or at other events or things that came up last minute, which, always happens. But I think those two things contributed to the lower attendance. But despite the lower turnout, I thought it was a really great meeting. We, just gave kind of a few quick updates from the Food Policy Council. Basically some of the things that I just mentioned, ran through with the working groups, and plugging some of our other upcoming events. And yeah, and then we got an overview of the work that Greener Partners does in partnership with the hospital there. Kind of walked us through the different programs that they offer. And then we got a tour of the farm. And yeah, it was very interactive tour. We were trying, different herbs and plants. And, at one point, everyone was digging through the raspberry bushes, picking a few raspberries to get to try. Yeah, and just learning about it was interesting hearing kind of how their production systems are set up, to work specifically with the hospital and the patients, the programs that they have there. But yeah, I thought it was, as I mentioned, a good meeting. People seemed to enjoy being there. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention Representative Joe Cerisi attended as well. I had known his chief of staff had RSVP'd for the meeting, so I was expecting Mike to be there, but wasn't expecting Representative Cerisi to join. So that was a good surprise. I know he's really kind of passionate about these issues. But yeah, it was great to have him there. So that's my quick summary. I don't know, Vernon or Anne. I know you were both there. If either of you have any other thoughts you want to add from the meeting.
I think you covered it all, but I thought it was a very, very good meeting. I enjoyed fellowshipping and talking to the various attendees. Had the opportunity to share uh, with others as we walked around. So I thought it was very good. I really enjoyed it.
Great, thanks. I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it.
Yep, I enjoyed it.
I thought it was good as well. Yeah, no pressure to jump off mute, but just wanted to give you a minute in case you did have anything you want to share.
Joe Cerise and I even had a chance to talk about the possibility of starting a garden up at the church, since we have about 5.5 acres that are that's unused right now. So that was a good conversation as well.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that's in the works now.
I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but we talked about it.
Good, good. Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
I've got nothing else to add. I thought it was a great meeting, even though we didn't have as many people as you might have hoped, but a really interesting tour for sure.
Great. Yeah, I guess that two other things I would add. One is our last meeting before this one was in Pottstown, that kind of partnership with the Pottstown YWCA there to host, and the Pottstown Area Food Collaborative, which I think changed some of how we thought about the member meetings as trying to do them kind of more in collaboration with other organizations. And I think this is another example of how that works really well. Giving just setting up the meeting, oriented around doing the tour of this farm and creating those learning opportunities. Yeah, again, I think a different example of the partnership or collaboration for a meeting, but I thought that it worked well. And I did have, I think it was just two people who were new to the council who reached out and, were interested in learning more and getting involved. And, so I was able to say, we have this member meeting. It's a great opportunity to do exactly that, to learn more, to start to connect. And so, yeah, just, I think that they continue to serve a valuable role in that way, as well as being a kind of good entry point for new folks. Yeah. anyone who wasn't there have any questions or, I don't know, ideas, suggestions for future member meetings? I will, I mentioned that we're looking at September as a, kickoff date for the awareness campaign, and doing a kind of a community meal type of event. And so I was thinking, that's our next member meeting will likely be in September. So I was thinking that that we could combine those. The next meeting can just be come to this event. Um, I think there'd be enough overlap there, and we wouldn't need to create a separate event for the member meeting. Um, so that's what I was thinking about for our next one, and then we just have one more to plan towards the end of the year.
Sam, if you need any assistance with that, please feel free to reach out and let me know what I can do to help.
Great, thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're just kind of getting started with the planning now, so as it starts to take shape a bit more, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, that's a good segue to some of our other updates here. So, as I mentioned earlier, I have two interns who will just started this week and will be working with me for I guess the next 6 weeks or so till early August. Yeah, I had invited them, but I think they were both not available this morning. Yeah, one her name is Kenzie. She just graduated from Westchester University with a bachelor's. I think it was in public health, and now she's staying at Westchester to get a master's in public health. Um, so yeah, she's one of the interns, and then Mia is the other. She is going to be a senior at Tulane University in New Orleans, and also studying public health there. So the two main projects they'll be working on, as I mentioned before, kind of the event planning for the kickoff event for our educational campaign, and then also working on doing the kind of state of the food system report, basically food system assessment that will contribute to our food action planning process. So those are the two main projects. Have a few other smaller things they'll be working on, but wanted to mention it and give you all a heads up. If you get emails from Mia and Kenzie, or from me introducing them to you, that well, I guess just to look out for any of those emails coming up soon. Okay, and then two other quick updates here. We are currently accepting applications for our one vacant leadership team seat, or that will be vacant in August. Yeah, the commissioner's office they're kind of doing this in coordination with one other commission that they are accepting applications for, and they wanted to have a shorter application window, so it's just 2 weeks. We've already received, I think, 3 or 4 applications, but yeah, we'll still be accepting applications through the end of next week, through Friday, July 3rd. So if you know anyone who you think would be a good candidate to serve on the leadership team, then please reach out, let them know we're accepting applications, and yeah, hopefully we get some good candidates. So I will once the application window closes the end of next week, I'll reach out to folks about potentially setting up a review committee to look over those applications and make recommendations. So that's our update on leadership team seat, and then also an update on the strategic plan, moving through so kind of finalize the scope of work for the strategic plan, moving through the review processes. Just met with the solicitor's office the other day. I think it got kind of a thumbs up there. So has kind of one more review step to go before we'll be able to put that out. Hoping that will be that won't take too long before we'll be able to send out that RFP, start getting some responses, And then similarly, I will probably be reaching out to ask if folks are willing to serve on a review committee there to look over the responses that we get and help us determine kind of which firm or company, individuals, whatever we want to work with for that strategic planning process. So yeah, I'll continue to keep you updated as I have a clearer sense of the timeline, but right now we're moving through the review process is essentially the short version there. Any questions or comments on any of those updates? All right, we are flying through our agenda this morning. So one other item that I had put on here, just kind of a heads up in case folks weren't aware, there is a JBS, I forget exactly if that stands for something, what it stands for, a JBS meat processing plant in Souderton, which recently announced that it would be shutting down. So I wanted to mention it for a few reasons. One, I think, the most immediate is there's, I think it's 1,500 people who worked at that plant. And so, there's a real concern about kind of what's going to happen to those individuals and to those families. I know our Commerce Department has been heavily involved working with the township officials and area nonprofits and other organizations trying to assemble resources and provide support for those again for those individuals and families. I think the plant isn't officially closing down until August, so there's a little bit of a window here, but that's, I think, kind of the most immediate concern is, and particularly from our vantage point, looking at food, is is this going to lead to a spike in food insecurity in that area? Are the pantries in the area equipped to handle that? Is there a need to try and help sign people up for SNAP or other benefits? And again, can we kind of pull in those resources specifically to that area for this potentially kind of like acute crisis that may happen. But it's also interesting thinking about from a larger food systems perspective, this meat processing plant, the kind of they're one of the largest meat processing companies in the country, and so thinking about kind of the ripple effects, right, for I think there was mostly cattle they were processing. So for cattle farmers, I don't think much of the processing that was happening there was from local farms, but there is an effort to see if there's any other companies or entities that will be able to kind of take over the operation, even if it's on a smaller scale. There's all this equipment and infrastructure that's there. But it does highlight some of the challenges, some of the issues with consolidation, kind of large supply chains within the food system, and potentially a lot of skilled workforce that would be looking for work to help develop more kind of smaller scale localized meat processing, which is often difficult to do. So. Yeah, again, just wanted to kind of put that on folks' radar. It's kind of a very ongoing conversation right now. Yeah, again, just to ask if anyone has questions, thoughts, or comments about any of that. Not seeing any. Okay. Well, yeah, I know I'll be kind of continuing to be in touch with our Commerce Department and others to see how that situation unfolds and if there are other needs or opportunities to support. Okay, so then we just have two things left on our agenda. One is talking about the food action plan, and then the other, I had mentioned that I wasn't sure if we were going to have time for it for open discussion, but it seems like we probably will. So yeah, so I'll talk about the food action plan. We'll see if anyone has issues they want to discuss. And if not, then we can wrap up a little bit early. All right, I'm going to share my screen again for folks who are able to see it. Here we go. So I just put this timeline together the other day. Should I zoom in? Are folks able to see it? I got ahead.
I can see it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Vernon. So yeah, wanted to highlight this is kind of how, my first pass at thinking about how we'd put together a food action plan I think there are 6 different kind of components. So the first is kind of designing the plan. So in my mind is thinking about, do we want the plan to focus on short-term strategies? Do we want it to have a mix of short and long term? How kind of comprehensive do we want it to be? Do we want kind of everything that we could do included in the plan, or do we want it to be a more I'll say kind of narrow approach of like, these are 20 things that we are going to do, and we're going to kind of pick the first 3 and kind of then move through them. So I think just kind of setting the scope, basically those are conversations that I'm anticipating us having in our leadership team meetings over the next few months, trying to think through the scope of the plan. At the same time, as I mentioned, we have some interns who will be working on doing some research and putting together essentially a draft of this State of the Food System report to give us kind of a bench line of, what do we know about our food system right now? What can we say about it? What are the things that we don't know, that we would like to know, that would be helpful? Starting to kind of, I think we have some of that information in different places, but putting it all together so we can get that kind of comprehensive snapshot. So yeah, putting that plan together, doing the research, compiling a draft report, sharing it for review and approval, and then hopefully putting out a final report, in the fall. The next kind of component, the next section, is doing some focus groups. So I don't think I mentioned this, but there's a program called the Bill Emerson Hunger Fellowship, which places, kind of like recent college graduates in field sites for 6 months to work on, anti-hunger related issues. So I am applying for to be a host site, to host a hunger fellow. And the main project they would work on is organizing these focus groups. So, and this process aligns with the timeline of the program. So they would start kind of figuring out what's the process, how many focus groups do we want to have, and how many sessions do we want to have with each group, and what are the questions we want to ask, how do we want to structure the conversation, all those kind of things. So take a few months to kind of do that, set up that process, that design, that timeline. By the end of the year, being able to identify kind of the groups that we want to convene, the stakeholders who want to participate, and sending those invitations out, so that at the beginning of next year we can kind of hit the ground running and start having those conversations. And then getting towards March, towards spring, we'll have, kind of some results from those focus groups. And I think I mentioned this before, that's, kind of the outcome of those focus groups we're hoping would really be essentially the structure for the plan, for, the recommendations that we would want to put forward in the plan would be largely coming out of those focus group conversations. So as those focus groups wrap up, that brings us to our next line here, where we start kind of drafting the plan. So organizing that information, again, putting together recommendations, completing a draft, and then the idea is that that draft we would kind of bring around through a series of community engagement events. So that's kind of the next next line on this timeline would be planning and organizing a series of community engagement events. So start that planning in the spring, and yeah, hopefully host the sessions then in the summer. Let's see, I'm trying to scroll over here so you can see basically once we host the sessions and hopefully get some good feedback, then kind of jump back up to our plan writing where we are incorporating that feedback, adjusting our recommendations, our plan based on what we hear from the community, working to finalize the plan. And then the estimate here is that by the end of next year, by November, we could have a final plan put together. So once we have the plan together, we'd want to host a kind of a kickoff event to to celebrate it and to also hopefully kind of kickstart some of the work that we're highlighting. And so I have here planning for that would start over the summer, with some outreach and promotion happening in the fall, and then again that event happening in November. This is like a rough draft of the timeline. I tend to underestimate how long things will take, so I anticipate that it will shift and may stretch a little bit longer, but wanted to have this at least this draft put together and to be able to share and see if anyone had any initial thoughts or impressions seeing this kind of spelled out in this way. So anyone have thoughts or questions here? All right, well, I will share this via email so folks can, spend some more time looking at it. And sorry, Anne, were you gonna jump in?
I trying to look at where I'm driving, but asking a quick question. Is there a difference between the food action plan that you were just talking about and the strategic plan?
Yeah, the way I think about it, the strategic plan is more of like how we do our work. So defining like for the Food Policy Council, what are our like we had said before, I think in our leadership team retreat last year, our focus areas were on like education, connection, and policy. And so kind of revisiting those and saying like, all right, are these still the areas we want to focus on? If so, like, how do we want to make sure that that's integrated more into kind of the work that we do? What are our key performance indicators? How are we evaluating our impact and our work? And kind of like defining our lane, our role a little bit more. But I don't think the strategic plan will get as much into the content of like of what it is we will be doing, if that makes sense. So, for example, um, through the focus groups that I mentioned, right? Like one of them, let's say, will be with farmers, and we can talk about we will have our mentorship program, which we've talked about, but we can come up with a list of other strategies, right? Things that we could pursue that would support the farming community in the county, and kind of so that's what the role for the focus groups and for the food action plan is to say, okay, here are the 3 to 5 strategies in this sector, in this area that will be, and again, we have to define exactly what we want to say, but will be most impactful or most practical. And so those, setting those strategies, I think is more through the food action plan and less through the strategic plan, if that kind of division makes sense. But yeah, thanks for the question, Anne. So yeah, as I mentioned, I will send this around. If folks have other questions as you're looking at it, then feel free to reach out. And yeah, again, next time when we meet, we can we'll start kind of these conversations about defining the scope of the food action plan a little bit more, what we want that to look like. All right. So with that, I think we can then move on to our open discussion. So yeah, this is a new thing that we're going to try, just to have time for folks to bring up any questions or challenges that you've been working on recently, things that you want to brainstorm or troubleshoot, or I think kind of as Carla did earlier in the intros, trends that you're seeing that you want to share. Yeah, does anyone have anything that they want to bring up for our new open discussion item here?
Carla brought up the SNAP benefits, and what my role here at the Office on Aging is to supervise our intake unit. So we're getting the first calls from people who are, might be struggling financially, might be struggling to get food or have the resources to pay for food. We've definitely seen an increase, people wanting, Meals on Wheels. And I've said before, like, unfortunately, our Meals on Wheels are not designed for just financial help. They are to help people who are homebound, living alone, that don't have access to food, can't get to the grocery store to get the food and things like that, or even food pantries and things. But we're definitely seeing an increase in the amount of referrals for Meals on Wheels because people are just looking for, any way to get a meal or food or healthy, things to eat on the resources with the resources that they have, So we're seeing that. I'm sure the SNAP benefits is coming into play there. Of course, we've heard that the Community Health Choices waiver programs are cutting people from their Meals on Wheels programs. Because they're saying that if there's an aide in the home, then they're not going to get the meals, that the aide can actually, make their meals and things like that. So there's definitely, especially with our 60 and older population, just getting really hit hard financially.
Thanks for sharing that, Christy. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. Have the calls been people who have lost their SNAP benefits who are now looking for other resources or
So
other, yeah.
that's a good question because when Carla brought up the SNAP benefits, we don't ask that. So, it's hard to tell, but it could be a factor, which I didn't even think about.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I was curious because with the new work requirements, they've increased the age from I think it was 54 or 55 to 65. So as you mentioned, it could be folks who are 60 and up who are retired or unable to work or something like that, that would now need to work to be able to get their benefits.
Yeah.
So yeah, not sure if that's a driving cause, but otherwise be interesting to try and get a sense of what's leading to that uptick.
Yeah. I
Do
think
you
there's
feel like, go ahead, sorry.
probably a combination of a lot of different things, at this point. We're getting a lot of seniors who are becoming homeless too, or can't afford their rent, which that's a huge thing right now.
Yeah, that's tough. Do you feel like there are, I mean, I guess most of, through OAS, most of the role is referrals, right, to other services. Do you feel like there are adequate resources and services to refer people to, or is there kind of a gap there?
Well, I certainly refer to the senior food box program. We certainly screen for Meals on Wheels if that can help someone. That's a benefit in many ways. And then, as I mentioned, and Carla mentioned, the food vouchers for the summer, for the food markets and stuff. So that's helpful. So those are all things I'm trying to remind my staff, like, to refer people to. Yeah, and the housing situation, the county is opening the new homeless shelter. Hopefully, I had heard in January, so hopefully that's gonna help a lot of our seniors as well.
Right, right.
So we certainly work with our RHD on that. So
Got it. Sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, just as you were talking also, I was thinking, I know some pantries collect data on like some general demographic data. And so that might be interesting to see if, if there's alignment with pantries seeing an increase in seniors, as a result potentially of, referrals from either your office or community connections or wherever else.
yeah, we also refer to community connections a
Right.
lot. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for mentioning it. It's yeah, it's hard to hear, that's the state of things. Anyone else? Questions, challenges, issues you want to raise in an open discussion here?
Hey, Christy. One thing I've seen along my days in planning is I've noticed that AARP seems to be really active with engaging and providing very insightful information. Maybe they might be somebody you might want to consider reaching out to, see if they have any sort of anything that might, you know, be of assistance to you. Um, I don't know as far as um, any funding sources, but they seem to have a lot of like just very insightful wisdom. So, just my thought.
yeah, thank you. Every idea or resource counts, I think.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Tim. All right, well, if there are no other discussion items, then we can move on to announcements and yeah, and wrapping up. So I think I shared most of the just announcements that I would have earlier. Just reiterating, leadership team applications are open until next Friday, the 3rd. So please consider recommending or sharing that with anyone you would recommend for the leadership team. And our Lunch and Learn is coming up July 10th. So again, share that with anyone you think would be interested in talking about food systems and climate change. I guess the one other announcement we have mentioned last meeting that I've been working with our Commerce Department and with Anne on an event for food business owners to discuss some of the workforce challenges that they have. So we had to push the date back for that, but it's now been scheduled, confirmed for July 28th, so about a month away, at the community college. So we're working on getting the promotional materials out now, but again, I'll send those out. But if you work with any food businesses or know of any food businesses that would be interested in attending, I'll ask you guys to share that out too. Anyone else have upcoming events, announcements, things that they want to share before we wrap up?
Nothing from me.
Besides your celebrations this weekend.
That's besides the anniversary celebration, big gospel concert. That's correct. Yes.
Right, right.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Well, I think then we can go ahead and wrap up 15 minutes early here. So thanks everyone for joining this morning. Have a great rest of your Friday, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.